Welcome back to the Print 3D channel. On this weekend's print, we're going to check out Rey's blaster from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Welcome back. I'm really excited about this print. We're going to fill up the build plate on the G-Max 1.5 XT Plus and see how many parts we can run out at once. First thing we have to do though is go get that model and get it set up in Slicer. Okay, so here we are over at myminifactory.com. We're going to use the artist Daniel Lilygreen's Rey's blaster model. As you can see here, he is an amazing artist. We hope to have him on our artist spotlight someday. If you're watching, Daniel, give me a shout out. I'd love to do an interview and talk about your modeling and the software you use and how long you've been doing this. Anyway, so here we go. You can see he's got a lot of really great models on here. A lot of Fallout 4, a lot of Fallout props in general. But right here we have Rey's blaster. So let's take a look at the parts. That's all of them. That looks like a pretty easy print. We can fill up the G-Max 1.5 XT Plus print bed with everything in here. So let's go ahead and get the download started and head over to Slicer. All right, so here we are in Slicer. One of the problems I've noticed with My Mini Factory, and I don't believe it's the artist's fault, is a lot of the files that you download come with an arbitrary number, and then a lot of times the parts aren't named. That would be really great if they're really named. It makes things easier when you're setting up your print bed, especially for people who own G-Create printers. Like myself, that would make things easier because I can fit most likely everything on the bed. So first thing I notice on this one is we need to rotate it, I believe along the Y 90. We'll stand that up. Let's go ahead and drop in a bunch of parts. And we can adjust them as on the fly, and hopefully Slicer will stay open for this process. All right, so we've got 7 parts on the bed. Let's go ahead and see if we can rotate some of these in the right positions. And we need to rotate this along the Y 90 degrees and get it flat. Same with this one. It just makes no sense to print things standing up when they're flat. Let's go ahead and rotate on the Y 90. This can be rotated 180 because we want the flat side down. And this should probably print standing up. The Y 90. So actually, let's flip that 180 on the Y so those bottoms are the bottom part. And that top prints out like that. All right, so we've got a lot of parts on there. Let's go back to the 2D view. We've got 4 left. Let's see if we can get them all on the print bed. All right, well, we got everything on the print bed. And it seems like Slicer's pretty stable, so we'll keep moving along here. Let's go ahead and go back to the 3D view and see what we need to adjust. We can move some of these parts closer together, obviously. Turn a couple of them, make room for other ones. Zoom in here and check everything out. This can stand up, so we'll rotate this on the Y 90. Move it over here, it's a tall part. We've got our 2 grips. Let's go to the 2D view. This sometimes is easier to rearrange things. I know I have a big print bed, but that doesn't necessarily mean I want the parts so spread out. I want them kind of close together so the print travel time and areas between them isn't large, and we don't have a bunch of stringing going on because we have a large gap travel times. So let's go back to the 2D or 3D view here, and let's rotate this sucker on the Y 90, get him standing up. Let's put him over here by the tall parts, and then go back to the 2D view, and let's move a couple things around and make room for our tall parts. So I'm going to print those in the back area. No preference. I mean, you can print your parts wherever you want on your print bed. I mean, obviously this is how I'm setting it up. You can set it up any way you want. I'm just trying to conserve space here so we don't have a whole lot of travel times. So let's double check our list here. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And it says we have 12 parts, so we have everything on the print bed. Next step here is to hit the Export G-Code button. I've already gone ahead and set up my print settings. As you can see here, I'm printing at 1.16 millimeter layer height. My first layer height is always a little bit fat. I like to go 0.28. 3 perimeters, 3 solid top layers and bottom layers. I'm doing a 30% infill on this particular model. I run 4 loops so I can make sure my printer is perfectly level at 10 millimeters from the objects at 1 layer. We are running support material, and these are just the basic defaults. My speeds I've adjusted through time. I'm pretty confident these will be okay. Under advanced settings, my top solid infill is at 140% and my first layer is at 150%. We're running at 20% overlap on my infill and perimeters. That way they're nice and strong. And should we do any bridges, we just have a little bit higher bridge flow rate. Over in the filament settings, I'm running at 208 and 203 for my PLA. Cooling, we have it set up for auto cooling and keeping the fan on except for the first 2 layers. Fan speed minimum 50%, obviously 100% at the top. And these are the settings for the G-Create setup, so that's already ready to go. So let's go ahead and hit the Export G-Code button and see what happens. So we had a successful slice. I did have to do this twice. I didn't record the crash of Slicer because there's no sense in seeing that. But as you can see here, in this version of Slicer, we do have a preview. Let's make this full screen so we can see it. Hopefully this won't cause it to crash. Zoom in a little here. You know, it's not simplified 3D. You know, we don't get to see the little widget traveling along. There's no color coding. The only color coding they give you here is when you have overhangs and you're not running support. But in this particular model, the way we have this set up with our full print bed, you can see everything is supported properly. So let's go ahead and export out the G-code and get it to the SD card. Okay, so we have the G-code loaded up on the SD card. We'll go ahead and throw it in the printer and fire it up. The filament we're going to use is Shaxon 1.75 PLA. I know a lot of people hate on this filament on the internet, but I use it all the time and I don't have any problems with it. If you see any problems with my prints, I believe those are my settings and have nothing to do with the filament. I don't have Simplify 3D. All I have is Slicer, so I think I'm a little restrained by that, but the filament really works good. I print with a lot of Shaxon filament. These are all empties, so it's good filament, guys. Just tune your printers. It'll work just fine. All right, so let's pop in the SD card and get this printing. I'll go ahead and set up a time-lapse camera so we can watch the whole thing as it happens. Okay, so we have all the support material cleaned off. Let's go ahead and dry fit the model together, and then we'll send this over to the next episode of Prop Builders Workshop, where we'll do all the sanding and finishing and really make this look like a film-ready prop. So join us for the next episode of Prop Builders Workshop where we do the finishing. In the meantime, let's dry fit this together and make sure it looks good. Okay, so that turned out awesome. Everything fit together. Put a little piece of tape on here to hold some of the parts because they're loose fitting, which is always nice. We still have some hardware to get to finish the model, but we'll go ahead and take it over to Prop Builders Workshop where we'll do all the sanding and finishing and add all the hardware to it and paint it. All in all, I think this turned out great. It was a 14-hour print. We used Shaxon Orange PLA in 1.75, but this turned out great. Really cool model, guys. Print this. Pew! Pew, pew, pew! Pew, pew, pew! Whoa! Awesome. So thank you again for joining me here on the Print 3D channel. I really appreciate you watching. Please subscribe to the channel, comment and like on those videos, and join me again in Prop Builders Workshop where we finish Ray's Blaster and on the very next episode of the Weekend Print. Thank you for joining me here on the Print 3D channel.